After the men had learned how wealth is earned, grown, and protected, Arkad sensed that their understanding had reached a new level. Their questions were no longer about fear or struggle, but about responsibility. He spoke to them once more, his tone measured and firm. "You have learned how to build wealth," he said. "Now you must learn how to use it wisely." The men listened closely. They understood that misuse could undo years of discipline. Arkad explained that gold, when handled without judgment, can become as dangerous as it is powerful. Wealth placed carelessly does not only harm the owner, but also those who depend upon it. He told them that many men lose fortune not by waste, but by lending unwisely. They give gold where wisdom is absent, trusting emotion instead of judgment. In doing so, they weaken both their wealth and their peace. One of the men asked whether lending was always risky. Arkad replied that lending is neither good nor bad by itself. It becomes dangerous only when guided by sympathy rather than understanding. A man who lends must protect his gold as carefully as if he were investing it himself. He explained that gold should never be given where it cannot return with increase or security. Lending without expectation of return is generosity. Lending with expectation but without judgment is loss. Arkad warned them that wealth invites requests. Friends, family, and strangers may all seek assistance. A wise man, he said, learns to say no when wisdom demands it, and yes only when judgment is clear. He reminded them that gold respects reason. When placed wisely, it strengthens both giver and receiver. When placed foolishly, it creates resentment, loss, and regret. As the men reflected, they realized that wealth had reached its most serious stage. It now required discernment, not effort. This, Arkad said, is where true mastery begins. Arkad continued by explaining that wise lending begins with careful examination. He told the men that before giving gold, one must understand how it will be used. Gold placed without purpose is gold placed in danger. A lender must know the plan by which repayment will be made. He warned them that many men speak confidently about future success, yet lack the discipline to follow through. Confidence alone, Arkad said, is not security. Gold responds only to preparation and effort. One of the men asked how a lender could judge whether a borrower was worthy of trust. Arkad replied that trust must rest upon ability, not desire. A man may wish to repay, but wish does not create return. Only skill, experience, and steady work provide assurance. He explained that wise lenders look to the borrower's source of income, habits, and past conduct. Gold should be placed where responsibility already exists, not where it is hoped to appear. Arkad reminded them that lending does not require harshness, but it does require clarity. Terms must be understood, expectations agreed upon, and risks recognized before gold changes hands. He told them that men who lend without understanding often blame others for their loss. In truth, Arkad said, the fault lies with the lender who failed to judge wisely. As the men listened, they realized that lending was not an act of kindness alone, but a test of judgment. Compassion without wisdom could destroy what discipline had built. Arkad concluded that a wise man protects his fortune by lending only where repayment is supported by reason, not emotion. Arkad then spoke of the balance a wise man must maintain between firmness and goodwill. He told the men that refusing a request for gold is often more difficult than giving it. Sympathy presses upon the heart, and fear of appearing unkind weakens judgment. Yet wealth, Arkad said, must never be governed by emotion alone. He explained that a man who lends out of pity often harms both himself and the borrower. Gold given without expectation of wise use teaches dependence, not strength. It relieves discomfort for a moment, but creates hardship later. One of the men asked how a lender could remain kind without becoming careless. Arkad replied that true kindness seeks long-term good, not immediate relief. A wise man may offer guidance, opportunity, or effort instead of gold. Such help strengthens character rather than weakening it. He reminded them that gold given too easily loses its value in the eyes of the receiver. When effort is absent, respect fades. Repayment becomes unlikely because responsibility was never required. Arkad explained that wise lending encourages growth. Gold should be placed where it supports work, skill, and discipline. It must help a man help himself, not excuse idleness. He warned them that many fortunes are drained slowly through repeated small loans made without judgment. Each loan feels harmless, yet together they weaken security. As the men reflected, they understood that protecting wealth required inner strength. Saying no, when necessary, preserved both fortune and peace. Arkad concluded that firmness guided by wisdom is not cruelty. It is protection for all involved. Arkad then spoke of what happens when lending is done without wisdom. He told the men that when gold is placed poorly, it does not disappear at once. It fades slowly, bringing irritation, regret, and strained relationships. Loss, he said, often arrives quietly. He explained that a borrower who is unable to repay soon avoids the lender. Promises become excuses, and respect turns into discomfort. What began as goodwill ends in silence or resentment. One of the men asked whether a lender should feel anger when repayment fails. Arkad replied that anger changes nothing. The loss was created at the moment judgment was abandoned. To blame the borrower afterward is to ignore one's own mistake. He reminded them that gold lent without security teaches a painful lesson. It reveals that sympathy without wisdom carries a cost. The wise man accepts this lesson without bitterness and adjusts his future actions. Arkad said that some men continue lending to the same unworthy borrowers, hoping circumstances will improve. Hope, he warned, is not a plan. Repeating the same mistake only deepens the loss. He explained that a wise man learns from each outcome. When gold returns safely, judgment is confirmed. When it does not, judgment must improve. As the men reflected, they understood that lending exposes truth. It reveals whether decisions were guided by reason or emotion. Arkad concluded that wealth is protected not by avoiding mistakes entirely, but by refusing to repeat them. Arkad then spoke of the lasting effect that wise lending has upon a man's fortune. He explained that gold, when lent with judgment, strengthens its owner even if it is slow to return. A man who lends wisely remains calm, because his decision was made with clarity and foresight. He told the men that peace of mind is one of the greatest rewards of wisdom. A lender who understands risk and accepts it thoughtfully does not suffer anxiety while waiting. His wealth rests upon reason, not hope. One of the men asked whether strict judgment might limit generosity. Arkad replied that true generosity does not weaken security. A wise man may choose to give freely when his heart desires it, but he never confuses giving with lending. Each has its place, and mixing them invites loss. He reminded them that wealth grows best when boundaries are clear. Gold that is lent under firm understanding returns respect along with repayment. Gold that is lent without clarity returns confusion. Arkad explained that those who master this balance gain control over both wealth and emotion. They are neither hardened nor careless. They act with calm authority. As the men listened, they sensed that their learning was nearing its completion. They no longer saw gold as something to chase or fear, but as something to command wisely. Arkad concluded that when a man learns to lend without regret and without resentment, he has reached a high level of mastery over wealth. As Arkad prepared to conclude his teachings, the men sensed that their journey had reached its final turn. He reminded them that wealth, in its highest form, is not merely owned, but governed. Gold that is earned, grown, protected, and lent wisely becomes a servant that strengthens life rather than controls it. Arkad told them that many men spend their lives seeking money, never realizing that mastery comes only when money no longer commands their choices. True wealth, he said, brings calm judgment, steady confidence, and freedom from fear. He explained that those who reach this stage understand balance. They know when to give, when to lend, and when to refuse. They act neither from greed nor from guilt, but from clear understanding. Arkad reminded them that wisdom with money reflects wisdom in life. A man who governs his wealth with care also governs his time, his actions, and his character. Discipline learned through gold spreads quietly into every part of living. As the men prepared to depart, they felt no urgency, no confusion, and no longing for more instruction. What they had received was complete. The path ahead was clear. Arkad looked upon them one final time. "You have learned how wealth is built," he said, "and how it is preserved. If you walk this path faithfully, you will never again be ruled by money, but will rule it." With that, his teaching came to an end. The journey is complete. What began as a search for gold ends as mastery over it. This is the wisdom of Babylon.